They threw her out of an interview because of her son's cries. His giggles earned her instant employment. Get out. We don't hire distractions, the HR manager snapped, slamming a folder shut. All eyes in the gleaming boardroom turned as a young woman scrambled to her feet, clutching her baby boy to her chest. The child's cries echoed against the glass walls, sharp, painful reminders of her desperation. I just needed a chance, she whispered, her voice trembling. Please, I can work. I'll do anything. The receptionist sneered. Your child is disturbing the process. You should have left him at home. This is a professional environment, not a daycare. The woman's cheeks burned. She gathered her worn handbag, hugged her baby tighter, and stumbled toward the door. Tears blurred her vision. Once again, her poverty and her son's presence had cost her the opportunity to change their lives. But then, something unexpected happened. As the door swung open, her little boy's cries shifted into giggles. Sweet, bubbling laughter filled the hallway, a sound so pure it carried like music through the cold corporate air. The woman froze. Employees looked up from their laptops. And at the far end of the corridor, a tall figure in a tailored suit stopped in his tracks. The billionaire CEO himself. His sharp eyes narrowed, not with annoyance, but with curiosity. He had ignored countless resumes, but the sound of that child's laughter drew him closer. And what happened next would flip the entire company upside down. If you believe one small moment can change everything, stay tuned. I welcome you all back, and thanks for all your support. Don't forget to subscribe because this story will leave you breathless. Where are you watching from, and what time is it over there? The skyscraper rose above the city like a monument to power. Glass walls glinting in the sunlight, polished steel doors revolving with a steady rhythm. Inside, the air smelled of leather, perfume, and expensive coffee. Every detail whispered wealth, authority, and exclusivity. But at the far end of the lobby, a young woman stood frozen. Her name was Elena. Her dress was clean but faded, her shoes worn at the soles. In her arms, she carried her son, barely 2 years old. His tiny hands gripped her blouse as he buried his face against her, whimpering softly. "Ma'am, are you sure you're in the right place?" the receptionist asked, her tone clipped and disbelieving. "Yes," Elena said, her voice firm despite the lump in her throat. "I have an interview. I'm here for the marketing associate position." The receptionist's eyes flicked down to the child in her arms, her lips curled. "With him?" Elena swallowed. "I couldn't find anyone to watch him, but I promise he won't be any trouble. I just need this chance." Reluctantly, they allowed her to proceed, though the whispers had already begun. She brought her baby to an interview? How unprofessional. How desperate. The conference room was sleek and cold. A long mahogany table stretched between executives in suits that cost more than Elena's rent. They barely glanced at her as she entered. The HR manager flipped through her thin resume with a sigh. "Your experience is limited, and you've had gaps in employment." "I stayed home to care for my son," Elena explained softly. "But I've studied, I've worked part-time, and I can learn quickly. I'll give everything I have." The baby shifted in her arms, letting out a small cry. Heads turned sharply. A few executives exchanged smirks. "Is this a joke?" one muttered. The HR manager's voice snapped like a whip. "This is a workplace, not a nursery. You're wasting our time." Elena's heart pounded. She wanted to fight back, to scream that she was more than her circumstances, but every word lodged in her throat. Her son's cries grew louder, and the room's patience thinner. "Enough," the HR manager said finally, slamming her folder shut. "Get out." Humiliation burned through her. Clutching her son, Elena stumbled toward the door, fighting tears. Not again, she thought. Please, not again. As she stepped into the hallway, her son's cries suddenly shifted into laughter. Bright, bubbling giggles that echoed through the sterile corridors. Heads turned. Even the security guard looked up in surprise, and at the far end of the hall, a man in a tailored navy suit stopped walking. His presence was commanding, his posture flawless. The billionaire CEO, Adrian Cole. Employees stiffened as his gaze swept the hall. He was known for his ruthlessness, his brilliance, and his untouchable wealth. But in that moment, his eyes weren't on the trembling mother. They were fixed on the child in her arms, laughing as if the whole world belonged to him. Why would a billionaire who dismissed countless resumes every day suddenly stop for a struggling mother and her giggling child? If you're still watching, you can feel something unusual is about to happen. Don't go anywhere, because this billionaire's reaction is nothing like what you'd expect. And make sure to subscribe, so you don't miss what comes next. The glass tower of Cole Dynamics dominated the Manhattan skyline, its logo gleaming like a crown above Times Square. Inside, thousands of employees bustled through open-plan offices filled with sleek screens and glowing prototypes. The company was hailed as the heartbeat of American innovation, a tech giant shaping the future. And at the center of it all was Adrian Cole. Adrian wasn't just another CEO, he was the face of modern power. Forbes covers, Wall Street Journal features, CNBC interviews. His sharp mind and ruthless ambition had built an empire from nothing. Now, whispers said he was untouchable. Investors feared him. Politicians sought him. Employees worshipped or despised him, but none ignored him. That's why when Adrian stopped in the hallway outside the interview wing, silence fell. His mere pause was enough to shift the building's energy. Elena clutched her child tighter, unsure whether to flee or stand her ground. Her cheeks were still flushed from humiliation. The HR manager, who had just shoved her out, stiffened at the sight of Adrian. "Mr. Cole, sir, I didn't realize you were on this floor." But Adrian wasn't listening. His gaze was fixed on the small boy in Elena's arms, still giggling, reaching out as if the billionaire in the tailored navy suit was just another man to play with. "Whose child is this?" Adrian asked at last, his voice smooth but commanding. Elena's throat tightened. The HR manager jumped in quickly. "An applicant, sir. She brought her son into the interview room. Completely unprofessional. We were just asking her to leave." Adrian's sharp eyes flicked to Elena. "Is that true?" Her voice shook, but she forced herself to speak. "Yes, I couldn't leave him alone. I know it wasn't ideal, but I needed this chance." The HR manager smirked, sensing support. "Exactly. She's wasting our time, bringing personal chaos into a professional space." But then, Adrian did something no one expected. He crouched down, eye level with the child. His perfectly polished shoes creaked against the marble floor as he leaned closer. "What's so funny, little man?" The boy giggled louder, clapping his tiny hands. A ripple of laughter spread among nearby employees, unsure but warmed by the rare sight of Adrian interacting with a child. Elena blinked in disbelief. She had braced for scorn, for dismissal. But Adrian's expression softened. Not much, but enough to shift the air. Still, he was a businessman. And businessmen didn't make decisions on whims. He stood, turning back to the HR manager. "Why wasn't I informed about this candidate?" The manager stammered. "Sir, her resume doesn't meet our standards. She lacks experience, and her circumstances make her unfit for our environment." Adrian's jaw tightened. He had heard those words before, thrown at him years ago when he was a broke college dropout, pitching his first startup idea to a room of suits who laughed him out. He glanced at Elena again. Her posture was fragile yet defiant. Her son wriggled happily in her arms, oblivious to the judgment crushing them. "Circumstances," Adrian repeated slowly. "Funny. Sometimes it's the people with the hardest circumstances who fight the hardest." The HR manager paled. "Sir, with respect, this is highly irregular." Adrian cut him off with a raised hand. "Irregular doesn't scare me. Stagnation does." The crowd fell silent. But silence wasn't kindness. For Elena, the tension only grew. When Adrian walked away without another word, the HR staff snickered. Don't think his curiosity means anything, one whispered. You're still not getting hired. Alina lowered her head. Her son's laughter had given her a moment's reprieve, but she knew reality hadn't changed. She still had rent overdue in Queens. She still had bills piling higher than her courage. And now she had embarrassed herself in front of the most powerful man in New York. Or so she thought. Because upstairs, in the 58th floor executive suite with sweeping views of Central Park, Adrian Cole replayed the boy's giggles in his mind. In a world of endless meetings and artificial intelligence models, that laugh had been raw, human, uncontrollable, real. And Adrian Cole had built his empire on spotting value where no one else looked. Was Elena about to lose everything? Or had her son's laughter just opened the door to a future she could never have imagined? Elena had barely stepped outside the glass tower before the cold wind witnessed her face. She pulled her coat tighter around her son, whispering softly to him. It's okay, Matteo. Mama's got you. We'll figure something out. Her words felt hollow. The streets of Midtown bustled around her. Yellow cabs honking, business people striding past in tailored coats, the hum of a city that never slowed down. But for Elena, everything moved in slow motion. She had failed again. Another interview, another door slammed shut. She sank onto a bench across from Bryant Park, rocking Matteo as he giggled and clapped at the pigeons. His joy was a knife in her chest. How can you laugh when we have nothing? She thought. And yet, his laughter was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. Inside Cole Dynamics, Adrian stood at his office window, overlooking Central Park. The memory of that boy's giggle lingered in his mind. It wasn't just cute, it was defiant, a burst of innocence against a world that tried to crush it. He remembered his own childhood in Brooklyn, when people had laughed at his dreams the same way the HR team laughed at Elena. Mr. Cole, his assistant's voice crackled through the intercom, the board is ready for you. Adrian didn't move. He tapped his fingers on the glass, lost in thought. Circumstances don't define worth, potential does. Finally, he turned. Cancel the first half. Bring me the applicant HR throughout. A pause. Sir? You heard me. Find her. Back on the street, Elena was about to board the subway when a sharp voice called out. Miss Gayton, she turned startled. A man in a dark coat hurried toward her. She recognized him. Adrian's personal assistant. Mr. Cole would like to see you, right away. Elena's heart lurched. Me? Why? I wasn't told, but when Adrian Cole sends for someone, they don't say no. Moments later, Elena found herself back inside the skyscraper she thought had rejected her. Employees stared openly as she was escorted past security, whispers rippling. Why is she back? Did she complain? Is she suing? In the executive elevator, her reflection trembled in the mirrored walls. She bounced Matteo gently, whispering, Be good for Mama, okay? This might be the most important moment of our lives. The doors opened to the 58th floor. Plush carpets, modern art, and floor-to-ceiling windows gave the space a surreal air. Adrian's office was larger than her entire apartment. He didn't look up immediately when she entered. He was reviewing a file, his presence magnetic, intimidating. Finally, he set the papers down. Miss Gayton, her knees almost buckled. Mr. Cole, I apologize for earlier. I know it was unprofessional to bring my son. I was desperate. Adrian leaned back in his chair, studying her. Desperation isn't weakness, it's proof of how badly you're willing to fight. She blinked, caught off guard. He gestured toward Matteo, who was now babbling happily. That laugh! Do you know how rare it is to hear something genuine in these walls? Elena stammered. He just likes people. Adrian's lips curved into the faintest smile. That's a gift, and maybe it's one this company needs. Her heart pounded. Was he serious, or was this another cruel game? But before she could ask, the office door opened. The HR manager stormed in, face flushed. Mr. Cole, with respect, this is highly irregular. This woman doesn't meet our qualifications. She doesn't belong here. Adrian's gaze sharpened. Are you telling me who belongs in my company? The manager faltered. No, sir. But her resume, her background, it's not Coal Dynamics material. Adrian rose to his feet, his presence towering. When I started this company, people said I wasn't material either. They laughed me out of rooms, but here we are. The HR manager paled. Elena clutched Mateo tighter, her chest tight with disbelief. Adrian Cole, one of the most powerful men in America, was defending her. Would Adrian really risk his reputation and company image for a struggling mother and her child? Let us know in the comment section, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. The HR manager sputtered, but Adrian's stare cut him down to silence. The air in the office felt electric, as though every wall of glass vibrated with unspoken challenge. Elena's palms were damp. She knew opportunities like this didn't just happen. She also knew that if she stayed quiet, this moment would vanish forever. She took a deep breath, adjusted Mateo on her hip, and stepped forward. "Mr. Cole, I don't want charity," she said, her voice trembling but clear. "I don't want special treatment. I just want the chance to prove myself." Adrian tilted his head, intrigued. "And how would you do that?" Elena swallowed hard. "Give me an assignment. Something your top candidates are working on. Let me show you that I can handle it, even if it means working twice as hard. I'll do it." The HR manager scoffed. "This is absurd. She's completely unqualified." But Adrian raised his hand. His eyes never left Elena's. "You want a trial by fire? Very well." He walked to his desk, picked up a sleek tablet, and swiped through documents. "Our marketing team is preparing a pitch for a new AI-powered app. The board meets tomorrow morning. They expect brilliance." He turned the screen toward her. Charts, analytics, and glossy branding concepts filled the display. To Elena, it was overwhelming, a world of data and strategy she had never touched. Her throat went dry. Adrian's voice lowered. "You have 12 hours. Create a campaign proposal. Convince me you belong here. If you fail, this ends. If you succeed," he glanced at Mateo, who squealed happily, "you'll have not just a job, but a future." The room fell silent. Even the HR manager looked stunned. Elena's heart hammered. 12 hours. No experience. No safety net. Just a worn laptop at home and a baby who needed her every second. But something inside her shifted. This was no longer about humiliation. It was about survival. About proving to herself and the world that she was more than her circumstances. She straightened her back. "I accept." The HR manager stormed out, muttering under his breath. Adrian watched him go, then turned back to Elena. "I don't expect miracles, but I do expect fight. Show me that you can turn desperation into innovation." She nodded, her eyes burning with determination. "I will." As she left the skyscraper, Mateo asleep against her shoulder, the city lights of Manhattan seemed brighter than ever. She had 12 hours to change her life. Would Elena's courage carry her through the impossible? Or would this bold move destroy her last chance at redemption? Morning light poured through the glass tower of Coal Dynamics, gilding Manhattan in gold. The boardroom buzzed with tension as executives in Armani suits adjusted their ties and scrolled impatiently on their tablets. "She won't show," one whispered. 12 hours? Impossible." Another smirked. "This is what happens when you indulge sentiment. She'll embarrass him." The HR manager sat straighter, smug. "She'll fail, and I'll be proven right." Then the doors opened. Elena stepped inside, clutching a battered laptop and a folder of handwritten notes. Mateo was in a borrowed stroller, quietly chewing on a toy. Her heart pounded, but her posture was firm. Adrian Cole was already seated at the head of the table, his expression unreadable. "Miss Gayton, are you ready?" Her voice wavered for just a second. "Yes, sir. I am." The presentation began. At first, Elena stumbled. Her slides were simple, her design amateur compared to the glossy decks executives were used to. Whispers spread around the table, but then she shifted. Instead of graphs and jargon, she told a story. "This app isn't about numbers," she said, her voice gaining strength. "It's about people. about the single mother in Queens who needs affordable tools to manage her life, about the student in Brooklyn chasing dreams on a budget, about the families who want connection without being drowned in complexity. She clicked to the next slide. Images of ordinary New Yorkers, parents, students, workers. Faces the executives rarely thought about. This isn't just a product, it's hope. And if we market it as hope, not just software, people will believe in it. Because people don't buy technology, they buy what it makes them feel. Silence fell. The board leaned forward, captivated despite themselves. Adrian's gaze sharpened, his hand steepled beneath his chin. Matteo giggled at the end of the table, as if punctuating her point. The room softened. Even hardened executives exchanged glances, moved against their will. The HR manager cleared his throat, desperate to cut through the shift. With respect, sir, this is simplistic. She lacks formal training. It's sentimental nonsense. Adrian stood. His presence filled the room. No, it's vision. Something most of you forgot when you traded dreams for paychecks. The HR manager's face drained of color. Adrian turned to Alina. You've done what I asked. You've turned desperation into innovation, and you've reminded this company why it exists, to serve people, not numbers. Gasps rippled across the table. He extended his hand toward Alina. Welcome to Coal Dynamics, Ms. Gayton. Her knees nearly gave out. She shook his hand, tears burning in her eyes. She wasn't just accepted, she was chosen. In that moment, the power shifted entirely. Elena, once thrown out of the interview like trash, now stood vindicated in front of the most powerful man in New York. The HR manager shrank in his seat, humiliated. The board murmured with new respect. And Matteo? He clapped his tiny hands, giggling as though he knew his mother had just rewritten their future. Elena had won the chance of a lifetime. But what would this new job, and Adrian's unexpected interest in her, truly mean for her future? Weeks later, Alina sat at a sleek desk inside Coal Dynamics, her name now etched on a glass plaque. Alina Gayton, Junior Marketing Associate. It still felt surreal. Every morning, she took the subway from Queens, pushing Matteo's stroller into the bustling Manhattan streets. But instead of walking past the glittering skyscraper, she now walked into it. Security guards greeted her by name. Colleagues nodded with respect. The HR manager who once mocked her? He was quietly removed from his position after Adrian reviewed complaints from other employees. His office sat empty, a reminder that arrogance could crumble overnight. Elena, however, thrived. She stayed late, asked questions, soaked up knowledge like a sponge. And though the learning curve was steep, her determination never wavered. Her first campaign earned unexpected traction because it spoke to ordinary people, not just investors. Adrian noticed. So did the board. One evening, as the sun set over Central Park, Adrian stopped by her desk. "You've proven yourself," he said simply. Elena looked up, startled. "I still have so much to learn." "Good," Adrian replied. "The ones who think they know everything are the ones who fail. Stay hungry, Miss Gayton." For the first time, she smiled with confidence. "I intend to." At home that night, she tucked Matteo into bed in their tiny Queens apartment. The cracked paint and flickering light bulbs no longer felt like chains. They were temporary, stepping stones toward the future she was building with her own hands. She whispered to her son, "We made it, Matteo, because of you." His eyelids fluttered as he drifted to sleep, a soft giggle escaping his lips. And Elena knew. That laugh, the same laugh that had drawn the attention of a billionaire, had not just changed her life. It had reminded her, and everyone at Coal Dynamics, that even in the coldest corners of power, humanity mattered most. True opportunity doesn't always come dressed in perfection. Sometimes it comes through flaws, struggles, or even the cry and giggle of a child. Elena taught the world that resilience is louder than rejection, that dignity is stronger than doubt, and that true wealth isn't measured in billions, but in the courage to keep fighting when the world tells you no. All because one mother refused to give up, and one little boy laughed at just the right moment. If Elena's story inspired you, share it with someone who needs hope today. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear if you believe in second chances. And don't forget to subscribe, because stories like this remind us that even in a city of steel and glass, the smallest voices can spark the biggest changes.